My name is Ed. I'm a regular guy, born and raised in Chicagoland. I lived all of my life in the American Midwest and never really saw anything out of the ordinary with the way life happened here. At 24, I was working in a small box inside a big filing cabinet in downtown Chicago. I drove my car, I ate bratwurst almost every day, I watched heroic amounts of Simpsons reruns, I went to work, I hung out with friends on the weekend, and stayed out late at night in the city. But there was something eating at me, somewhere deep down inside. An unbearable frustration was keeping me up at night. Something wasn't right. I had no idea what or why, but life sure stunk. Something had to change. I figured joining the Peace Corps was a good way to shake things up. A few months later, I woke up in a small village in Kenya, East Africa. When I came back to America, 3 years later, nothing looked the same. I guess it required removing myself from the life I had always known in order to gain perspective. I just started to notice what Kenyans noticed. I became used to walking down a road and passing people instead of cars. I ate vegetables and grains most of the time and only ate meat on special occasions. I stopped producing so much trash and started reusing things. I bought things when I needed them, not just to buy them. I started thinking about where my food came from, how resources are used, and my impact on the land and environment around me. It's not that I decided to become a vegetarian or to start recycling plastic bags or carrying a basket to market. I didn't even plan to start thinking about my environment. It is just how people live in that part of the world. In Kenya, I was living like most people. Here, in the United States, suddenly I was different. So, I started to see things differently. I saw a sea of cars, big, huge cars traveling on pavement that used to be our farmland and countryside. I saw thousands of trucks carrying food and merchandise all across the country. I saw millions of gallons of petroleum burning away, and I choked on the exhaust. I had never really thought about the garbage cans on the roadside in the morning. Now I realize that every house had not one, but a number of huge trash cans filled to the brim every week. Even something as simple as going to the bathroom became a screaming warning sign. I carried my own water from a well for years, and I saw Kenyans carrying water their whole life, sometimes miles at a go. I still think it's a waste to pee in perfectly good water and flush it away. The majority of the world lives like Kenyans. Americans are a small minority of the world's population. Yet we consume the most resources and make the most exhaust and the most garbage. America makes so much exhaust that it's actually ruining the very atmosphere that keeps us alive. Even animals know not to destroy their own home. Not me. I'm going to be different. I'm not going to make exhaust and trash and waste resources and destroy the environment. Well, I quickly realized that it's not quite that easy. How do I get food without driving if the grocery store is miles away? How do I reduce the amount of trash I make when everything I touch is individually wrapped and packaged? How can I reduce my use of fossil fuels when half of the energy coming out of the wall socket comes from coal, and most household items have a plug sticking out of them? I decided that I could control many of the day-to-day activities and items that surround me. I decided that I could still make a positive impact on the environment, even if it's small. Every day there are hundreds of small environmental decisions that will add up and reduce my consumption and my waste. Once I started to look for them, I could see them everywhere. I also realized that it's incredibly hard to follow through on all of the positive environmental decisions I saw around me. You just can't wake up one day and not use your car. You can't just start buying all your products from local sources. You can't just stop using all the appliances in your home. Americans are not wasteful, horrible ogres. Americans are people just like all people of the world. Just like everyone else in the world, they do the best they can with the life that is presented to them. There is a system in place in this country, a certain way that things are done. It is the system that is wasteful. It takes persistence and planning to live differently. I can make an impact. but just one person making positive daily environmental decisions makes a small difference. A lot of people making positive daily environmental decisions makes a big difference. The more people that change their lifestyle, the easier it becomes for everyone to make changes. The system in place right now is wasteful because it keeps people separate. People living separately consume, waste, and drive more. Living separately makes life hard as well as wasteful. Living and making environmental changes together makes life easier as well as more efficient. Everyone needs help to make changes. One day a couple months ago, my dorky chemistry teacher of an uncle, Bill, and I were having a casual conversation about global warming and the environment. The next week, he had a picture of me on a website talking about the decade of environmental decisions. I usually disregard most of what Bill says, but this time I thought that maybe this decade of ed might actually be on the right track. I figured if my picture is going to be on his website, I might as well take stock of my own environmental decisions. So I made 2 lists. One stating the positive environmental decisions I've made, and another stating the immediate changes I'm still trying to make. This is what I've got. I walk, bike, or use the bus instead of driving whenever I can. I recycle, including trips to the recycling center for certain plastics. I eat mostly vegetarian. I keep a garden. I compost kitchen scraps in a tub under the sink. I can and pickle local vegetables in season, buy local food and products, reuse plastic bags and containers. I home cook most of my meals. I have a membership at a food cooperative, and I try to support sustainable organic farms. I reuse my computer printouts. I don't use chemicals in the yard or in the house. I live in a small apartment. I don't use air conditioning. I bring reusable containers and bags to the grocery store, buy secondhand clothing, furniture, and household items, and I only use 1 or 2 lights at a time. I also try to wash my dishes by hand. The environmental decisions I still want to make are a more fuel-efficient or biodiesel vehicle and eventually an auto-free life, an indoor worm box for composting kitchen scraps, to can and preserve enough food to last the winter, put up a clothesline. I want to move to a house with fuel-efficient heat, stop using a refrigerator and freezer. I want to grow more food and reuse my gray water, and join a community group to advocate for public transportation. The decade of environmental decisions is about people coming together to make changes. There is no magical answer to our environmental problems. We just have to keep at it. I'm just a normal person, and these are the changes I've been able to make to reduce my environmental impact. These changes have also resulted in a more efficient and inexpensive lifestyle. As an incentive for myself to make more changes and to bring more people together in the movement, I have a challenge. If 25 people join the Decade of Ed movement, I will plan, construct, and start my indoor worm box. I'll continue to make more environmental decisions if more people continue to come together. Once I have made a change, I will write a segment describing the steps involved and proposing my next environmental decision. However, everyone who joins has to make the same challenge to others. Everyone should make some simple environmental goals and commit to making those changes should more people join the Decade of Ed. Remember, the more people who start to make daily environmental decisions, the easier it becomes for others to do the same. With everyone's help, we'll make a serious positive impact on our environment, and I'll get the worm box of my dreams.
guys very much.